Morning Gooders. Today I thought I'd show you some filament I've been testing from Amazon, show you how I use that filament to create a part and why I created the part that I created. So first up, I was looking for some filament to replace the Cocoon brand filament I've been using. I've been very happy with the Cocoon brand filament, but I wanted to see what else was out there and something a bit more cost effective. And I came across this filament on Amazon, which was $27.50 Australian, and I'm with Amazon Prime, so I got it with free shipping. And I was looking around and I thought I'd give this filament a try for no particular reason other than it looked okay, and I thought I'd give it a whirl. This is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting paid to use this filament. I bought this filament with my own money, and I will put a link to this filament in the description below, but it's not an Amazon affiliate link. It's not an Amazon affiliate link, but yeah, it's just a filament I stumbled upon, and I'm giving it a try. Now, I did read the comments in the description on the filament, the reviews, and I did see that someone gave it a 1 star and some gave it a 5 star, 3 star, 1 star, 1 star, 5 star, and I read through the comments, and basically it's advertised as having a 0.02 plus or minus tolerance, if you like. So it's 1.75 mil filament, but they say it's accurate to within 0.02 of a millimeter. Now, one of the comments I saw said that it jammed in their hot end, and as I read through the comments, I saw others saying that the start of the filament is where you're likely to find it's a little too, well, it exceeds the 0.02 millimeter specifications of tolerance specifications. So I kept reading, and I found that the solution seemed to be that if you were having issues, to just cut the first 200, 300, 400 millimeters off the start of the roll, and then it should be fine. So based on that, I measured the filament, the first meter of the filament. I just rolled it out and measured it and see what I was getting measurements wise. And sure enough, the very first part was 1.78 millimeters, the first 100 mil. Now that's 0.03 millimeter larger than 1.75 millimeters, but then it was 1.72, so again 0.03 millimeters thinner than 1.75 millimeter, but then it seemed to level out and stabilize at 1.75 mil for the next 300 millimeters of filament, 1.74, back to 1.72, 1.75, 1.73, 1.72. Now, that didn't concern me because my worry was that it was going to be too large, like 1.78, 1.79, which would possibly cause a jam in my hot end. Being a little bit lighter was less of a concern than it being too thick. So given that, I cut the first half a meter off and then started printing. Looking at the filament, it looks like it's pretty good quality, and using the filament and trying some test prints and just printing some items with it, I've been quite pleased with the filament. It's been quite alright. It's a brand, CC DIY Materials. So I haven't heard of that brand before. And the other thing that I did discover too was the hole on the inside of the spool, where the spool holder goes, is larger than the spools I have been using. So my spool holder, I had to just raise up 10 millimeters to accommodate that, so it wasn't resting on top of the frame of my printer. But yeah, so far so good. It's turning out all right. Now here's the part that I printed most recently with this filament, and I'm very happy with the results I'm getting. There's no jams. The layers are going down nicely. It's adhering to the bed nicely, and I am having an issue, as you can see here, where my printer changes direction. I get this weird sort of artifacting, and I don't know if it's I have bought the bearings, and I'm going to replace the bearings on the bed, which I haven't had a chance to do yet, but that's coming up. So I'm hoping that may solve the problem, but it does seem to be like an under extrusion as it changes direction, so I'll still need to work out what's going on there. But on the whole, I'm pretty happy with the way the filament's going down and what it's producing and the quality of the prints that it's putting out. So I would, for myself, I'll definitely try another roll once this has run out and see how it goes, and I'll keep using it until it starts giving me problems. But so far so good. So that's the part that I made using this filament. Now what this part actually is I bought a new motorcycle recently. I traded in my green machine, and this bike I traded in because I'm approaching 60 years old, and this bike weighs close to 400 kilograms. So as much as it was a nice bike to ride, and I certainly enjoyed owning it, it's just getting to a point where I'm just looking for something a bit more lighter and manageable than what this bike is. So what I did was I traded that bike in on this bike, which is something more versatile, more flexible. It weighs about 219 kilograms fully fueled, and it's designed to travel on the highway, go off-road a little bit, and just be nice and easy and light to ride around town, because this bikes are my daily driver, if you like. My wife has a car and I have a bike, so that's how I get around. And so anyway, long story short, the reason why I made this part is because the seat on this bike, people have said that it slopes forward a little bit, and it can get a little bit uncomfortable to ride on a longer trip. And I did feel that's not too bad. I've had worse bikes, but I did feel that a little bit. So what they've been doing is a bit of a mod where they've been making up this part that goes under the front of the seat that just raises up 15 millimeters to tilt the seat back a little bit, so you're not sort of sliding forward continuously. So I thought I'd try and make that part myself. Now they've been making the parts out of steel, and I didn't want to do that, so which is why I modelled the part in Blender and then 3D printed it. So basically the steel part, the steel loop, as you can see here, is where the tongue of the seat slides into that piece there, and there's two stoppers that rest either side, and you can just see the imprints of a stopper on that steel plate there, that just the front of the seat rests on that point. So what they've been doing is that they've been sitting the tongue on top of this and then putting another steel strap over that and bolting it down, then putting larger stoppers on the seat to compensate for that raised 20 mil or so that is raised up. So what I did was to just model the part so that the stoppers sit on these fatter pieces here, and the tongue of the seat can just slip under this bridge here. Now I modeled the part in this orientation like so, because I wanted the strength of the filament layers to be in an orientation where the tongue of the seat can't lift it up or push up. So if I had printed it sort of standing up like in this orientation, then the layers would have allowed a weak point in the actual part, so that even though it's bolted down on the bottom of the part, the tongue could still lift up and separate the layers above where the screws, the bolts are mounted. So I've printed it in this orientation. And you can see here I've just recessed the holes to take a socket, so a socket can fit into that hole. And then what I did in Cura was to create the part so that I had I think it was from memory, 10 walls to give a lot of strength. There's no infill in the hoop section, and then on this section here you can see I put in an 85% infill to give it a lot of strength. And it's very strong. It's very rigid. I'm very pleased with the quality of the part and the strength of this piece. So then I mounted that onto my bike in the position, and just tried it out, and I rode probably 300 kilometers on it just the other day, and the seat is more comfortable just kicked up like that, but it's a bit too high. I think it could come up, say 10, 12, 15 millimeters, probably 12 millimeters max, rather than the 20 odd millimeters I've got of riser here, and I think that would work well. But to do that would mean cutting the steel hoop out of what's already there. I don't really want to do that. So yeah, so as you can see here, the part went in beautifully. It just lined up. It took me about probably 40 minutes to model it up in Blender, and then slice it and print it. I think the print with that density of infill was about, I'm going to say 12 hours. No, maybe 10 hours. Yeah, I think it's about 10 hours. Just let it go overnight, and then it was ready in the morning. And so yeah, it just bolted in nicely and fit perfectly first time. I used PLA for this. Now PLA is a bit of a risk because if you get a super hot day, it's going to go a bit soft. So ideally you'd want to print it in ABS or something that's going to be a bit more heat tolerant. But I'm still going to give it a try if I can work out a way of printing it a little bit lower. I think that's just a bit too high for me, and you'll see in a minute the gap that it leaves is pretty large under the front of the seat. It doesn't look too bad, and it is more comfortable this way than with the seat lowered down at the front. But yeah, I was quite happy with the way that came up. So with that said, I think that brings us to the end of my this video. So I thought I'd just share that filament, how it's working out. So far so good. I'm pretty happy with it, but if you do try it yourself, I'd recommend just cutting off the first 500 mil, because that seems to be where it gets a little bit thicker than it should be. So I'd try, yeah, just try cutting off the first 500 mil, or even just measure it yourself and just see what it's like before you use it. That's definitely a warning, I would say, based on the comments I read on that particular filament. Yeah, so based on those comments, I would just be cautious, like anything. But this is not a ringing endorsement on this product because I've only used it for a few prints. But as I can say, so far so good. So yeah, once the roll's finished, I'll do another take on it and let you know my thoughts and findings there. But yeah, so far I'm happy. All right, with that said, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. A big thank you again to all my Patreon supporters and people leaving tips on my models on my blogspot. You can see the links here to those spots. The blogspot, the printverygood.blogspot.com, I always mark that up, blogspot.com is where you can get all my free STL files. So help yourself, head over there and download whatever you want. And then Patreon, the link is here, is where you can support me if you would like to do so. All right, thanks very much for watching. Have a great day, everybody, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow.